I am a very simple man. When I see a James Jani video, I click. Now, I cannot compete with the editing, but hopefully by the end of the video, I will have won you over with my personality, my glistening, shining personality.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yeah.
And, of course, a nugget of knowledge that you can apply to your own personal life. This is your daily dose of edutainment. So without further ado, let's go straight to the video.
In 2003, professional boxer and heavyweight champion Mike Tyson filed for bankruptcy with $30 million in debt, despite accumulating over $300 million during the course of his career, which poses a great question about money itself. Because a great deal of our actions or our motivations in life have an underlying desire or need to acquire it. But what's...
So, we are first of all bombarded, not bombarded, but shown an image of an athlete. It is common knowledge now that athletes do in fact go broke. And if they're not broke yet, they are they are broke and don't even know it. What do I mean by that? Because when you are in the habit of buying liabilities, you are not making your money work for you by buying assets. For example, when you buy your friend, your family member, your mom or your dad a new car, you are not just buying the new car, but you're also losing the opportunity cost, right? Because of the fact that you could have bought something else, maybe even paid off their mortgage or some shit like that. Number two, the depreciation on the car. Number three, the maintenance, the oil change, the car insurance that's required to maintain usually a luxury vehicle.
More do you want from me? Oh my God.
And on top of that, property tax. When you buy a mansion or whatever, usually they have like, a very well endowed place, right? You don't just buy the mansion or the 10-bedroom house that one time, but you also pay the property tax upon said house, right? And you see how this can all add up. And on top of that, on top of all of that shit, you have baby mama drama. It is well known that athletes, I think Antonio Cromartie, even Dwight Howard has 5 kids by 5 different women.
And after you have 1 or 2 or 3, then you kind of understand certain things.
You have 5 kids.
Correct.
5, different partners.
I ain't judging no man, but that is a pretty penny to pay. So, you see how all of this starts stacking up upon one another. And of course, their income is not fixed. Depending on the sport and the position, they may only last 3, maybe 5 years in the league tops, and may only have 1 contract that they have to use to set themselves up for the rest of their life.
If you take the top 10% of all wage earners in professional sports out, okay, about 90% are in financial distress 5 years after they retire.
Careers, especially football, they're cut short real quick, and their contracts aren't guaranteed. And if I was to, kind of list the players who have the greatest financial problems, it is absolutely your football players are top on the list there. And the ones that do the best with their money are the baseball players. Most baseball players might get a good signing bonus, but most of these baseball players, their careers take a long time before they get to the major leagues. They've rode the bench, or, not just rode the bench, but they've, for a long time, but they've rode the bus.
$5 million seems a lot until you don't get that big contract you were looking for. Asked NBA athlete Nerlens Noel, who passed up on a guaranteed contract from the Dallas Mavericks because he bet on himself.
He signed a 2-year, $3.5 million contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He could have signed a 4-year, $70 million contract. That would be right around $17.5 million a season.
So oftentimes, it gets to the point where they have to make that $5 million work for them for the rest of their life, or risk getting a regular job. I put risk in quotation marks, but you know what I mean. Because you would expect if you make that amount of money, you would never have to work a regular job again.
What's the point in acquiring it if the great issue seems to be with our ability to manage it? Of course, these statistics are reflective of the UK and the US, but consider for a moment your own attitude towards money and how money exists in your own.
Don't forget Canada. Thank you very much. Don't forget Canada. Put Canada in there. Definitely put any country for that matter in there. It's all relevant. It's all relevant. Consumer behavior is very predictable. Ask the banks.
Life. What is money to you? Does it seem to enter your life and immediately leave once you have it? Has it ever placed you in a vulnerable position? A vulnerability that drew you closer to a get-rich-quick scheme or a guru telling you that you can get rich if you just bought their course? Whilst my entire channel aims to tackle these topics to some degree or another, I realize that our perceptions of money are sometimes more crucial than our ability to generate it, especially when our very brains are wired in such a way that prevents us from being financially sensible. Does it really matter if you're earning more than 6 figures a year if by the end of that year you have nothing left to show for it? Where is the disconnect? It's time we solved that mystery. And not only that, but explore a better framework for understanding money, a framework commonly taught in personal finance but oftentimes missed in formal education. A question. What is money? Or rather, what does money represent? When you make a purchase from Amazon, when you're paid for your time working at a job, what is the significance of money in these transactions? Money is commonly defined as a medium of exchange, an instrument that facilitates the sale, purchase, or trade of goods between parties. But I don't think this says much about what money actually represents. I think a better way of looking at money is an expression of value. You hand over a certain amount of money to purchase something because you perceive its value to be equivalent to the amount of money that you handed over. Of course, the price is often not determined by you as an individual, but the market as a whole. But hone in on this one.
Money is equivalent to time. As a youngin growing up, as a jit, as a youngster, as a young youth, you use your time to get money, right? You spend, I remember days growing up. I would go to my neighbor's door, ask them, yo, can I shovel your driveway for like $10 or $15, something like that? They give me the money because they don't want to spend their time, which is valuable, shoveling. And I'm spending my time, which I see is abundant, growing up, you know, teens. You have enough time on your hands. And I spend it getting money.
I can't believe I made it. It's my first time getting money. Where's my money? It's right here. Right there. Y'all can't see me. We getting rich.
So, as you get older and acquire more financial capital, you find yourself spending more money to get back your time. And this reminds me of the philosopher Seneca. The man, the myth, the legend. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements, if it were all invested well. But when it is wasted in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced, at last, by death's final constraint, to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. So it is, we are not given a short life, but we make it short. And we're not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it. Life is long if you know how to use it." I'm not sure if y'all remember this movie, but there was this one movie that Justin Timberlake was in. It's kind of like The Purge, but like a different reality. Essentially, people would buy things with their time.
Whoa, where's the rest?
Never met the quota.
Just once, I'd like to wake up with more time.
They'd have like some type of like programmer or some shit on here, and then if you didn't work, you didn't live long. So essentially, your life was dependent on the amount of hours you worked. And then obviously, you know, we have people who are struggling to work and actually live, right? And then we have the elitist class that bought time and had an exceedingly abundant supply of time, or essentially life. And this is why, as a consumer, right, as a producer and a consumer of things, I always look at things in terms of hours of life. I use the fictional reality of that movie and apply it to my life. How long would it take me to make this money back? If something costs $200, how many hours of your life would it take to make that money? If you get paid $20 per hour, is that item, is that product worth 20 hours of your life? Not only does this help you refrain from buying things you don't need, but you start adopting some of these minimalistic like principles into your life so that you don't have so much clutter, right? Honest question, right? I fee like I'm low-key a minimalist, or high-key I should say.
And this is what I'm doing. I'm not getting involved. I'm here to enjoy myself, GC style, do you know what I mean? I just want to be me.
If I were to move right now, everything I own could literally fit inside of a car. That is, I guess you can, not, is that extreme? Not really, I don't think so. But everything I own, let's say you don't account for furniture, right? If you just had your clothes and main shoes, stuff like that, could it fit inside a car or a small van or something small, some type of car, a vehicle, not a U-Haul truck? If not, I feel like that could definitely be something that you're looking to do some inventory in your personal life, whether it be selling stuff or just donating it away to a thrift store or those donation bins around your area.
Money equals value. Why is that so important? Because often we give money a moral significance.
A quote that I'm sure you've heard: money is the root of all evil.
We look at someone who seems to have a large amount of wealth and think, they got lucky. Who did they take advantage of to get to that position? Who had to lose in order for them to gain? And never, what value was created in order to generate that money? Understanding that money is simply value is the best way to understanding that money is not necessarily evil, nor does it make a person evil. Sure, there are things such as scammers who convince you that what they have to sell is worth value, but that doesn't say much about money more so than it does their own morals. Money simply opens your options and broadens your horizons. The choices you make with that money have everything to do with your own moral dispositions. So money is an expression of value. Now what? How does this change the reality of a person living paycheck to paycheck or someone who is consumed by credit card debt? The simple mention of money equals value changes nothing. It may make me see money in a different light, but what part of that is actionable advice? To answer that question, I'll pose to you another question. What is your relationship with money? Money will come into your life and it will leave. This is a relationship that is often expressed by your income and expenses. Another practical way of expressing this, which I particularly like, is your production versus your consumption. For the most part, money will enter your life because you have produced some form of value. And for most of us, this value will come in the form of labor, a job. Money will leave when you have consumed something, a Netflix subscription, a new car, a house. In many ways, we can look at the net worth of an individual as a metric for determining their relationship between consumption and production. Now cast your mind back to those statistics I mentioned at the start of this video. What part of the consumption versus production relationship do you think is at fault here? Consider yourself for a moment. Think about all the money that has entered your life and left. How much of that do you still have in possession today or invested into some sort of asset? And which part of this relationship do you feel is unbalanced or needs improving? The likelihood is both. But for most of us, the biggest issue lies in our consumption. Remember the Career Builder study that found that 78% of American workers were living paycheck to paycheck? Well, it also found that of the workers who made $100,000 or more a year, 1 in 10 of them were living paycheck to paycheck. Now you could argue that someone earning 6 figures a year may still like to earn more, but when you are paid a figure that is well above the average wage and the cost of living, and yet you still somehow find a way to spend it all, I'd argue that your relationship with consuming must be fixed before you even consider your relationship with production. As any wealthy celebrity who has filed for bankruptcy can show us, production means nothing when you have a problem with consumption.
So this goes into a lot of different methods, right? The consumption issue. You have the consumption of just stuff, right? Too much clothes, too much gadgets, too much just techie stuff.
But wait, there's more. Hang on to your seat, baby, cause this one's a screamer.
That's one. Then the overconsumption of food. You know, I low-key have a conspiracy theory. You know, the concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Why is that? Why is that there? Why is that there? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Listen.
Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
Back in our prehistoric time, before civilization, right? We did not always have food available 24/7. We would go through periods of famine and feasting, starving, and a fat belly, or, you know, a lot of plenty. Famine and plenty.
If we want to reduce caloric intake to increase lifespan, the only choice then is to eat less at each meal, because we need 3 meals, right? But where did this 3 meals a day idea come from? As Abigail Carroll suggests in her book, 3 Squares: The Invention of the American Meal, eating 3 meals a day was basically invented due to culture. When European settlers got to America, they found Native Americans were basically just eating whenever they felt the urge to, rather than at specified times. The Europeans took their lack of defined eating times as evidence that they were uncivilized and had them change. In short, the 3 meals a day paradigm is not based off of our biological needs. How our environment designed us. In a hunter-gatherer culture, it wasn't surprising at all to feast on a big catch, then survive on very little or no food for an extended period of time until they were in need of another big source of fat and protein. In fact, the environment up until now would suggest that if we could not do that, we probably wouldn't be alive to be reading about dieting.
So where did all of this breakfast, lunch, and dinner come into play? Where has that gotten us so far? Fasting. Fasting, because the more you eat, the more they make. Think about it, think about it, think about it, think about it. The more you eat, the more money you put into the economy. The more money you make for the cereal brand or the fast food place, right? If everybody just, you know, did a little 10-hour fast, little 6-hour, 8-hour fast, I feel like the obesity issue we have in the world wouldn't be as high. Not to mention, there'd be a lesson strained on the healthcare system. All the money that's being put towards healthcare, you could put into other things, because people are not struggling with obesity and dealing with like joint pain and other ailments caused by their weight. By doing this, you're giving your body the ability to like chill for a little while, right? It's not always consuming or breaking down food 24/7. It can chill and maybe break down some of the fat already within your body. Number 3, the digital consumption. The consumption of your time. Essentially what I mean is Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and even YouTube, even though I feel like it's the most educational platform out there. Why do you take your phone with you to the washroom? I found for myself, part of the phone addiction is having your phone with you 24/7. Taking it with you everywhere you go. So I won't cap with y'all, right? I find myself still doing this sometimes, just subconsciously, but I have to instinctively or consciously put my phone down now while I go and take a number 2. And I end up spending less time in the washroom. Is it even hygienic, to be honest? Like, when you think about it, is that really hygienic? To have your phone while you're, you know, wiping your shirt, and then waiting in line for the grocery store. Practice not being on your phone when you wait in line. Just be more aware. Let your mind wander a little bit without consuming. But I digress.
A rat race, an endless, self-defeating or pointless pursuit. Sometimes the rat race is conflated with working a 9-to-5 job. It's a comparison often used by certain individuals to guilt you into buying programs and books for them. But this seems extremely unfair, mostly because it aims to villainize a job and excludes the fact that there are those who either love or are perfectly fine with their jobs, or have other aspirations aside from their 9-to-5. A real rat race is one that is living on a financial edge, being one paycheck away from broke constantly. A feeling as though the moment money enters your life, it immediately disappears. And the more responsibilities you have, the more dangerous this relationship becomes.
Fit Guru said, quit your 9-to-5 job and work from home. Easy, easy, easy.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Easy? Aren't you supposed to work harder when you are self-employed? Not easier? Yo, honestly, if I could do it all over again, I would have preferred doing a blue-collar type of job or blue-collar type of work to start, right? And then use that to fund my emergency fund, and then maybe do YouTube more, so YouTube as a side hustle, and then make it full-time. YouTube, for many people, unless you have a good support system and you have parents funding your lifestyle a little bit, you can't just come on YouTube and then make YouTube full-time, or Shopify, or all this other stuff full-time. I said it before, but I'll say it again. If you have aspirations of being self-employed, it is imperative that you use your regular job to fund your lifestyle, to fund your emergency fund, to fund your emergency fund, to fund your savings. Few of us will be able to just not really work any substantial job for a while, and then just jump straight to entrepreneurship. For many people, like myself, because you are a waiter or a server for 2 or 3 or maybe 4 years, perhaps you put aside 20% of your income as a savings into your savings account, and then within the year you have $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 saved up. And now, you know, if your rent is $1,000, that means you have anywhere from 5 to maybe 8 months of rent that you can have covered. So now you could quit your job, right? And then just go hard for the next 8 months on your side hustle while you live off of savings. Or perhaps you could get a part-time job that is less demanding on your time and still go hard on your side hustle. But all these ads about quitting your 9-to-5 job, the 9-to-5 job is a scam. I can feel it because I feel like college is low-key a scam too. But I hate how oftentimes they try and demonize a 9-to-5 job or a regular job.
I hope the world can see now what's really going on out here, because it's getting ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
Not everyone wants to deal with the hassle of paying taxes and having to set aside money for taxes and do all that extra shit, bro. Some people just want to not worry about work after work. When I make YouTube videos, I'm constantly thinking about new videos to make, constantly adding new video concepts into my video folder and seeing, okay, maybe I can react to this, maybe I can talk about debt consolidation or banking system, stuff like that. This is constant 24/7. So I don't know how all these ads on YouTube talking about, oh, only work for 5 hours a week, only work for 1 hour a week, my done for you system, my done for you system. Do this, pay me $1,000, I'll do it for you. I say all this to say this. I say that to say this. I take full ownership for my lack or my decisions. But buying one of these courses did lead me to get into a lot of credit card debt. $12,000 of credit card debt to be specific. And to get out of debt quicker, I ended up being homeless, quote unquote, for a while. If you want to see that video, I'll leave a link in the description, pin comment. But this is the dark side about all of these make money online courses. I feel like anything past maybe $500 is kind of shady territory when it comes to course selling.
The loss of a job, an unexpected health accident, or any unexpected circumstance for that matter can throw your entire financial position into turmoil. And consider the mental consequences of living on this financial edge. Your job no longer becomes an option. It becomes a necessity in order to keep funding your lifestyle or to keep paying off debt. To quote Tyler Durden from Fight Club, the things you own end up owning you. What's the silver lining? It doesn't have to continue like that. The first stepping stone in personal finance will have you drawing an awareness to your relationship with money. This is often done by journaling your monthly expenses, categorized as housing, transportation, food, utilities, entertainment, and so on. It's about understanding yourself as a consumer, but this part is tough. In behavioral finance, this feeling can often be labeled as the ostrich effect, which is our tendency to want to avoid negative financial information. It's that feeling you get when you refuse to look at your bank account after a night out, fearing what it might show.
Yes, James! That's that shit! That's that shit right there! Yo! That's that shit right there. Check your bank account every single day, or at the very least, every other day. Yo, I've said this so many times in videos. I've said this so many times, but let me say it again. Let me say it for the people in the back.
Near and far. Lend me your ears.
And you too. The times in my life where I did not check my bank account were the periods where I splurged the most. I promise you, if you get into the habit of checking your bank account on a regular basis, every other day, just to see what's going on, right? You will not spend as much. Not only will you be on the ball or be aware of any suspicious or scam activity that goes on, but you will have a conscious or a consistent awareness of the money that's leaving your bank account. I promise you, if you constantly see negatives coming out of your account, that will make you rethink your spending habits. And again, when you buy stuff, by buying this, will I make more money down the road? By buying this, will I save more money down the road? Or by buying this thing, is there no ROI? Fast food, depending on what you have going on, is usually no ROI. The money you spent, the $40 you spent on the fast food, could have been a week's worth of groceries.
My addiction to Uber Eats has gone so far that I've resorted to calling my credit card company, my bank, and asking them, lying to them, telling them, can you block specifically Uber Eats from going through my card? I can't control myself, so I have to call them up and tell them, yo, can you block them so I just can't happen anymore on all my cards? And they said, no, you can't. We could shut off your card completely, but I'm not gonna do that. So it's like, bro, it's not even me, it's my son. It's my son. Like, fuck. I have to lie to the damn lady on the phone. Cause Uber Eats, man. Y'all out, man. Uber Eats, piece of shit. Probably sue Uber. I think I could scientifically come up with some sort of theory on how they've ruined my life with their psychology department trying to make me order over and over, and they're doing a great damn job because I'm definitely cash cow for them. I probably paid like one of their employees' entire salary, just me alone, for an entire year. It's horrible. It's terrible. What type of life am I living?
Know what I'm saying?
Once you pass this stage, it's time for you to take control over your behavior as a consumer. This often involves the idea of budgeting, deciding each month how much you aim to spend on each of these categories and sticking to it. It's about systematically looking at what you consume and finding ways in which you can minimize these things to ultimately live below your means. In other words, having a lifestyle that still leaves you with enough money to save and invest in some form or another. It's also important to note that before you ever decide to invest, one of the most common practices in personal finance is to keep an emergency fund, a specific amount of savings that you hold onto in case of an emergency. This fund would typically hold 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. The idea, however, of living below your means isn't important.
And once you have those definitely at least start with 3 months. Once you have 3 months worth of expenses covered, now you start attacking all of those interest payments or that credit card, right? Depending on your credit score, definitely check out Credit Karma. You may qualify for a debt consolidation loan or a simple balance transfer. So essentially what this means is if you have 3 credit cards open, you have 3 credit cards, right? The payments are a bit too much to manage. $2,000 here, $2,000 here, $2,000 here, right? And you have interest, let's say of at least 19% on each card. For a balance transfer, you could transfer all of these right here onto the balance transfer card. Now you have $8,000 on your balance transfer card. And oftentimes, depending on your credit score, you could get an introductory interest rate of 0%. $8,000 at 0% interest rate, right? It sounds all nice and rosy, right? But if you don't change your behavioral habits, you could very well pay little to nothing of that off.
And hundreds of, I don't think so, homeboy.
Right? But arguably, my preferred way to get out of credit card debt is credit card debt settlement approach. So essentially, this involves refraining from paying the minimum payments on your credit card. For example, you have a $10,000 credit card bill, and you are noticing that the minimum payment that you're paying towards the card or whatever you can afford to pay is not having substantial effect on your credit score or on the debt. So instead of continuing to make payments, you save the money towards plans of a settlement offer towards your bank. So at about 180 days or 6 months of payment delinquency, the bank will write it off as loss. So by the 5th month mark, you want to give your bank a settlement offer. Usually banks will settle for 40 to 50% of, depending on the situation, anywhere from 40 to 60% of the total debt. So if you can save $4,000 over the course of the next 5 months or so, you could settle with your bank. And why would your bank want to settle with you? Because they'd rather recoup something than report losses to their shareholders. And we know banks love and desire to show record profits to their shareholders. Now, this process will negatively affect your credit score, but you can always rebuild it. You have a ton of videos on YouTube about that. And with this way, you won't have to pay the total balance, nor pay a heap of money on interest. I have a whole video that breaks it down to a T, like from step by step to step by step, what to expect from your bank, what the write-off offset will do, because once you start saving money as a settlement offer, you don't want to be using your bank. You want to go to a different bank so that they don't have access to that money. I go into a lot more detail about that in a video down below. But essentially, just know that if you have credit card debt issue, you have two major options: debt consolidation and credit card debt settlement. Stop giving money away to the bank in interest.
Because why would we choose to do otherwise? Why would we choose to live a lifestyle that we cannot afford, or one that places us on this financial edge? I could make an entire video on our cognitive biases. The ostrich effect is just one of which can affect your financial position. Then there's hyperbolic discounting, a tendency to favor short-term rewards as opposed to greater rewards in the future. This is you choosing to purchase a new pair of shoes instead of saving that money towards a future investment. Or there's social proof, our tendency to think and act as others around us think and act. When the people around you are buying one thing, you buy it too. Or when the people around you establish money as a means of evil, you're likely to assume the same thing too. The phrase "keeping up with the Joneses" summarizes this great problem of consumption. It's a phrase defined by Google as trying to emulate or not be outdone by one's neighbors. They buy a new Porsche, you buy one too. They have nice clothes, you get some too. They renovate their home, you do it too. All in the attempt of impressing or trying to keep up with others due to some form of social pressure. Only in today's world, the Joneses are not literal neighbors. They're far more present than that.
We are all vulnerable to social approval. We really care what other people think of us.
But the problem is we're measuring our self-worth by how many people like what we're posting.
What did I say, right? Digital consumption as well. I promise you, if you start using most of your apps on your laptop as opposed to your phone, this will curb some of that phone addiction and that allure for constant content.
For real? Oh my God, you for real? No, you for fake. No, you for real. You lying?
I don't know, I feel like with YouTube, you learn something. I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, it can be hit or miss sometimes, oftentimes. But even for me personally, during the day, I delete my Twitter, my Instagram. Those are the only two apps I even use for the most part. Right? I used to have a Snapchat, used to have a TikTok, deleted those. Like, why do you have so many apps?
To the no, 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 no. Hell, no, no. To the no, yeah, to the no, to the no.
Look at your phone. Go through your settings on your phone. Why do you have so many apps on your phone? This is part of also, you know how they say decluttering, like your space. Declutter your phone.
Of the Bank of Canada stated it succinctly: for most Canadians, debt is a fact of life, at least at some point.
And why do you have so many shoes, man? Why do people have so many shoes? 20 pairs of shoes? For what? For what?
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason?
Maybe 2 dress shoes. Maybe 1 running shoe. How many pairs of shoes do you need, bro?
To be clear, I'm not saying that purchasing an expensive piece of clothing, jewelry, or sports car is a bad thing, nor do I think consuming is a bad thing. The aim of this video isn't to philosophize about the repercussions of a materialistic view of the world. It's about drawing an awareness to who you are as a consumer. Do you care more about appearing as though you have money or actually having money? The rat race isn't about working a 9-to-5 job, but living life on such an edge that it means that you are chasing the next thing, whether a paycheck or a material possession, such that your greater life goals and ambitions are placed in the background in order to continue this race. A budget and keeping account of your expenses have proven time and time again to work and draw you out of this race. It's fun to talk about making money or imagining having as much wealth as possible, but what's the point when your relationship with money as a consumer means losing it all or having to work non-stop in order to fund that lifestyle? That is the real rat race. But with all of that being said, let's talk about making money.
Now, the stuff we teach here, and have for almost 30 years, is proven.
What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So we got to take a moment and talk about what's going on in the stock market, because as we're finishing up the week, stocks have risen.
Personal finance channels like Graham Stephan or Dave Ramsey are great for learning how to work on your consumption side of the equation. But if there was one thing I wish they spoke more about, it would be their ability to make money. And I understand why they don't do this. It's easier to reduce your expenses in the amount that you consume than it is to increase your income. When speaking to a mass audience, giving the advice that will work for most people is typically the best choice. We see that there are entire communities built up around focusing on frugality. The FIRE community is one example of this, a movement that adopts the strategy of living extremely frugally, saving and investing as early as possible, with the intentions of retiring as early as possible. Minimalists also share a similar view to the FIRE community, although more deep-rooted in philosophical positions about the world and materialism at large. People like Graham Stephan or Dave Ramsey promote strategies that fall in the spectrum of living frugally, saving a lot of money, and investing in the long run. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this strategy. It works for a wider range of people with varying degrees of income. But let's be honest, Graham Stephan doesn't rely on cutting coupons or living an incredibly frugal lifestyle to be making $100,000 to $200,000 a month from YouTube. Nor does Dave Ramsey rely on these strategies to have an estimated net worth of $55 million. These people are utilizing a means of production at mass scale. In my video, The Untold Truth About Money, I talked about money being equivalent to your perceived value in the market. And the most impactful way of increasing your value is finding a problem in the market, creating a solution for that problem, and selling that solution to the market at scale. This is the entrepreneurial route. A successful business at scale is able to produce a large amount of value to a society such that your production side of the equation grows exponentially in comparison to a standard job. But this isn't a route that everyone can take, nor should they try to. It's about reflecting on your own capabilities and whether entrepreneurship is best suited to your direction. With that being said, increasing your production doesn't have to just come from the strict definition of a business. Graham Stephan uses YouTube as a vehicle to produce something, in this case videos about personal finance, at mass scale. It's one reason that I chose to create videos on YouTube as well. It's a vehicle to produce something, in this case documentary style videos, at a mass scale.
See? They know. They know. They know. They know. And I've talked about this so many times. I feel like I'm like regurgitating the same thing every time. But it's facts, bro. Let me just talk my shit. Can I talk my shit? Okay, let me talk my shit. Okay, you're a flight attendant. You're a plumber. You're an accountant. You're a hairstylist. You're a bus driver. You're a teacher. Make YouTube videos about your experience. Talk about how much money you make. Talk about the pros and cons of teaching. Talk about how you got into teaching. Make a video on it. Put it on YouTube. Set it and forget it. Well, not set it and forget it, but like, get into the habit of posting 1 or 2 new videos every week. Make 1 original content and then 1 reaction style video pertaining to your subject matter. If you don't know how to edit, I have a whole video on how to edit and create thumbnails. I'll leave that in the description of this video. But essentially, it's what I've been saying. Using your life as content. Things you've experienced, the things you've bought on Amazon, for example. Let's say you bought something on Amazon. For me personally, I bought sweat-proof undershirts, right? The best case would be for me to buy it because it solves my own issue, my own problem. Then I make a review on it, make a YouTube video about it, reviewing it. Then I get an Amazon affiliate link from Amazon and leave it in the description of my video. Not only am I recouping the cost of the purchase, but I'm also making money from the ads on the video and the affiliate commissions on the affiliate link. And that's for endless time periods. For as long as that product is available and it's being sold, I'll make money from that video. Because Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you don't see posts or videos or content from 10 years ago, right? On YouTube, it is common to see you search for something, right? Obviously, that's another component, right? When you search for something, you either go to Google or YouTube. You don't necessarily go to Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. Twitter, I can see sometimes because it's like a news, but like you don't really go to those other platforms. Snapchat, you don't really search it necessarily. So you have two things. People are searching for certain type of content that they can find YouTube videos about, and YouTube will either send them or suggest to them new videos or show them past videos in the search results from years ago, right? This is what we call recurring commissions, or as the music industry calls, royalty checks.
Point where I can now do it full time and build a business around it. Producing is about providing relative value to the market in some shape or form. I utilized my skills with acting, presenting, storytelling, and video editing to create videos that I hope to be somewhat entertaining and educational.
Oh, and I also forgot to mention, if you struggle with some type of addiction, like marijuana addiction, alcohol, coffee, watching adult content, you know what I'm saying? The P-Hub sites, talk about your experience. If you're willing to talk about your experience online with a YouTube video about that. And then you go to a site such as ClickBank, you become an affiliate for one of the programs. There's a couple: Quit Marijuana, The Complete Guide, Drink Alcohol in 7 Days or Less, Quit Nicotine. Those are only 3 programs that I personally recommend on YouTube. But essentially, if you struggle with one of those 3 things, you make content about, or even vlog your recovery story, your relapses or your addiction, or talk about it, right? And then you leave links to that in your description, and then you kind of get a following, kind of build an audience about that. For example, there's one YouTuber called CG Kid. He's damn near tried every substance out there in the world, and he has like 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? He's talked about alcohol, he's talked about crystal meth, he's talked about benazole or some shit like that. Look at the type of content he's making, and imagine if he actually had a proper like business around that. He could be making bare bank, right? Alcohol, nicotine, marijuana, etc., etc. Or you could even just become an affiliate for the Truth of Addiction program as well, right? That covers most of the other drugs or substances, coffee, Adderall, etc., etc.
And thankfully, the market responded positively. Your form of production may be developing an app or software that is solving a problem you believe the market would pay money for its solution. Or perhaps a fitness brand that is branded extremely well and utilizes its community better than most other fitness brands, as I believe is the case with Ben Francis and what he did with Gymshark. For most people, labor in the form of a standard 9-to-5 job will be their means of production. But this doesn't mean that your ability to produce stops there. Understanding yourself as a producer is about understanding ways in which you can produce value to the market. If you can produce value at a large scale, then it means earning money at a large scale. The internet has thankfully provided a great deal of opportunity for us to be able to produce something and put it out to the market. Whether the market actually wants what you have produced can only be determined once you've released whatever it is that you've produced. So to summarize, it's first important to bring awareness to yourself as a consumer, understanding what you purchase and why you purchase by journaling your consumption and then giving yourself a budget to manage and control that consumption. Producing then becomes a matter of maximizing the amount of value you can bring into society through a job, a business, or some other means of production. This is a framework that has helped me greatly, as I'm sure it's helped countless others who have a vested interest in making money.
You can add it to something big. Like
this isn't just sushi we're talking about anymore. Like this is substantial. Yeah, and then to go from that to like this.
Focusing, is that $170,454?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So to reiterate, it comes down to it. It comes down to paying yourself first. It comes down to checking your bank account on a regular basis, just being aware, having knowledge of what is going on, what is coming in and coming out of your account, not just looking at your bank account on Fridays every 2 weeks and being okay, but like just looking at, okay, what is going on? What am I spending on? Is there something I need to cut back on? Maybe even notice some scam activity, and then you can call it out earlier, right? And then in paying yourself first, right, you build up 3 months worth of expenses that you have covered. Then you start attacking those interests, those debts, right? Specifically credit card debt. And if you want to get a car, right, always buy it used. That is probably the best bang for your buck. Okay, right? So let's say you paid yourself first. You have your emergency fund. Now you don't wanna buy a new car and start paying a car note. So instead of paying the $200 car note every month, pay yourself first, put it in a separate savings account in your bank, and then after 10 months is up, you now have $2,000 saved up to buy a car. Buy a car used, manage it for the next year. Again, pay yourself another $200. Within 10 months again, you have another $2,000. Now you have $2,000 in cash and a $2,000 worth car, and now you get a $4,000 car, right? And then you gradually build your way up. So avoiding car debt, avoiding credit card debt, like not using more than 50% of your credit card. And if you are in credit card debt, either looking into debt consolidation or debt settlement, videos in the description. So while you're here, watch that video right now. Right now, don't wait any longer. Watch that video right now on how to get out of debt with debt settlement and perhaps debt consolidation, or watch my past video on why actors go broke despite making millions of dollars per year. Watch it right now. As always, if it doesn't feed you, don't water it, and too much of any good thing is good for nothing. How are you lot doing today? Say it with me. I'm doing more, saying less, and keeping that same energy. No cap. Flip the script. I'm out. Deuces. Pow.
For the corners, I'm still fighting with myself. I feel drained. Staring in the mirror, all I see is pain. Lost after loss, I'm just waiting for a game. Gave you my heart, I got it broken anyway.